as we kick off this new round, we'll give a couple of more minutes and I'll do the prayer and Yusef is going to be our lead person. And we're really thankful for that as we start, this new chapter of Black Knowledge Matters. As we're getting started back, I know, and since we had in person on Sunday and a lot was going on and, everything, but just glad to have Black Knowledge Matters.
I am too.
I was just mentioning before, with our sons, Rahotep and Kaba. Rahotep did the meditation on Sunday, and Kaba was going out to the Ileoma Day golf club practice this afternoon, and it's kind of healing for them to be doing something that their dad would be a part of or appreciate it, for these early days, a rough time. What would dad want? And they would call and tell him and stuff. And we laughed. Imhotep has all the pictures on his iPad, but before it was that, he would have a wallet and he would open up his wallet and it would go down with pictures. You know how that billfold, he'd have like 20 pictures of the boys in his wallet. And I still have the inserts in a nightstand. He would have, here's a picture of Kaba doing taekwondo, and then this and this, and there's even a picture of Halima. May he even notice. I mean, he would always have pictures and share that. And so, and I have those. So, but as Ross said, he was having a rough morning, and just connecting with the patients, but missing his dad. And so it's like, okay, doing say stuff makes him closer. He goes, well, he's an ancestor, and I'm like, yeah, he's with you.
Yeah,
he's with you. So,
and when you mention those pictures falling down, I'm just thinking of 6'3", 6'4" Imho, and that's a lot of pictures.
It would be a lot, and he wouldn't have just one. He'd have pictures on both sides, and
right.
in the middle where he's updated it, as well. And so just the pride in the children, and like I said, he's got other people's kids in, not just his own. It's like, okay, so let us just bow our head and thank the Most High God for this day. Taking a deep breath. Oh, Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, we thank you for a chance to come before you. We thank you for a chance to breathe in and to hear words and to be a part of the way. We thank you for the community. We pray that it will continue to grow and we will be instruments of your peace, O Holy One. We thank you for the presenters. We thank you for the listeners. We thank you for the engagement of right order, to feel Ma'at, be Ma'at, and be about Ma'at in all that we do. We thank you for the work. We thank you for the workers. We thank you for the future generations. We thank you for the ancestors that made a way out of no way at all. In your most holy, precious, divine, and sacred name, Ashe. Amen.
Ashe.
Hey.
So, Brother Yusef is our key man, our wing man, our master of ceremony. He's going to kick us off. So I thank him for stepping up and working with the team as we go into the next chapter. Certain things we're going to be trying to do and trying to figure out since we've been used to Imhotep hosting it and doing it, but there are other ways that we can do and things that we can do. And some of the things we're going to be starting to make a bibliography, a database, so that we can go back and connect and do our other studies. So those are the things that we're going to be putting into place so that we won't just come and hear and be a part of this, but that we can follow up and do other studies. So we look forward to the work ahead to continue this work, which is key because it's about know thyself. And by knowing yourself, you know God, and you become closer with that, it's within you. So without further ado, Brother Yusef.
Thank you so much, Mama Doris. And welcome, family. I am honored to be hosting this session of Black Knowledge Matters. Before we begin, I will ask for permission from my elders to speak and to continue.
Permission given.
Ashe.
Ashe, thank you. And I would also like to bring our attention to the ancestors who are here with us. And as I know, I feel and know Minister Imhotep, is right here with us. I also want to bring our awareness to our ancestors who are not only the ones that we call to this session, but the ones that are already with us, the ones that are with us today and that were with us yesterday and that are helping us guide us through our life. So bringing our awareness to our ancestors today. And we are indeed blessed to have Sister Saraswati with us for this session. And she will be providing us with information and strategies on a topic that not only needs the focus of our community now and in the future, but it's tied to situations that have plagued our community for generations. And she's going to provide us with some answers and some strategies to address that. And Sister Saraswati, let's talk a little bit about her. She is a retired civil engineer, having worked exclusively in the field of water engineering. She's also the past president of the California Water Environment Association, an association of 10,000 wastewater professionals. She's been affiliated with WOSAFE for approximately 10 years, though she did not become a member until June 2020. Saraswati is a certified yoga instructor whose first certification was in 1977. She started all over again after retirement, recertifying in 2021. She has also recently pursued coursework in yoga, health education, and yoga of recovery. She is committed to a pathway of spiritual truth and to her WOSAFE family. And for all of us, we are again, extremely gifted because as soon as you hear Sister Saraswati's voice, you will hear that quality that helps us gain balance. And you will hear that wisdom just in that beautiful voice. And so, Sister Saraswati, please enlighten and nourish us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to share with you. I am going to share my screen now. Oh, wait. So I'm assuming that you can all see my screen now.
Yes, ma'am.
So the subject topic is healing the habits that bind us, integrating the wisdom of yoga, meditation, and Ayurveda with the recovery pathway to overcome addictive and destructive behavior. So now I'm just going to give you a little background. When I retired and went back into becoming a certified yoga teacher, I just couldn't get enough. And so after I became a yoga teacher, there was an opportunity to become a yoga health educator. And then after that, to become a recovery specialist. And so I pursued both of those courses. But I can tell you from the very beginning, back in 1977, my goal was always to bring these tools to my community. And I can tell you almost all the way through all of my coursework, I was the only I was the only African American. And that made it very, very key for me to, get that information to share. Page down. So we're going to start and talk a little bit about addiction, the history of addiction, and then bring it into yoga and some of the principles. We probably won't finish all of this, but the important thing for me is that we start having this discussion. This is something that's really important and affects our community in so many ways, and yet I feel like we just don't talk about it. We just don't talk about it. So, what is addiction? So, you'll know many of these names. When more is never enough, or it's hard to get enough of something that almost works, right? Seeking the eternal in the transient. David Frawley is an Ayurvedic specialist. and then bio, psycho, social, emotional, spiritual, cultural, economic, political, disease. It's everything. It's everything, right? Self-destructive outlets for an unrecognized spiritual craving. So for me, the really important aspects of these definitions of addiction are the clear connection to our spirit being, and the acknowledgement that there's a vacancy that causes us to go off and do things that are not in alignment with our principles. So, of the definitions of addiction that I just offered, does anyone want to tell me like which one of them resonated with them? Did any of them mean anything to you in any way, shape, or form? Just take yourself off chat or raise your hand and tell me what you thought.
Think about
Yes.
food. Oh,
Go ahead.
you know how when you have to consume your drug, it's a bad thing. So knowing that you keep it's like let me stop. Why am I doing it? Is it shielding it? Uh, so when more is never enough.
Mine too. Sebastian, were you going to say something?
I guess I'm looking at number 4, where you talk about the biocycles, social, emotional, spiritual, cultural, economic, political disease. And it seems like in today's state that a lot of people are just locked in on, addicted to the ills of what is going on, being programmed and indoctrinated with this news and, so it's all around us.
And you're right, it takes so many forms, which is why all of these definitions, cultural, economic, political, they all apply. They all apply.
And yes, Sister Saraswati, if I can just say that self-destructive outlets for an unrecognized spiritual craving, that hit me so deeply, because as I do therapy and in my work in the mental health field, with as much as the field does not recognize our spiritual aspect and our spiritual grounding, how many people I've worked with that's what they were actually craving, asking for. And even now in therapy, just so many people said, that's where I want to go for my healing and for my strategy. So that really hit me. You know.
You know, it's funny you should say that, brother, because you did a presentation about a course that you were taking, coursework information. And one of the fundamental things that I came to understand was that you treated them as they were spiritual beings, part and parcel of the experience of who we are truly in terms of our connectedness. So when you were talking about that, I was like, me too, I feel that it's very, very important that people be recognized for who they are, and they are creations of God, right? And so I think that we've covered describing addiction based on your life experiences. I mean, many of us have people in our family or know people, even within WOSE, and that would be including myself, who have strong experience with addiction. And it's important to recognize and acknowledge the success of those who've walked through it, and also the struggle of those who are dealing with it as well. And that's why it's so important for us to have these kinds of discussions, and not, like we're all how do I say it? Like, we do these historical tributes and everything is wonderful, but there's a dark side for us walking through this life right now, and all of the things that affect us, and our fundamental spiritual knowledge and awareness that we are here to have. It's critical. It's not just words on a paper. It's not just memorizing statements. This is a life. And so I think that The loss of that is a very fundamental need that is the reason for addiction. So I love this tree. You can't see it well in this slide, but addiction is a significant social plague. And so I'm going to blow up the roots, and you can see that as we look at the things that affect us on a daily basis, and even sometimes things that come from our family history, we have to acknowledge that. Physical or sexual abuse, abandonment or neglect, emotional and verbal abuse, rejection, control or manipulation, rigid rules or perfectionism, persecution, unreliability, those things become shame, denial. We become the victim or the victimizer. We are completely disabled. We've no will and low self-worth. So a lot of the things that people are struggling with come from our roots. But this is the important thing, is what they grow into is astonishing. It's massive. You know, people often, when they talk about addiction, and thank you, Sister Doris, for talking about food, but they only think of one thing. But in fact, it's substances, it's alcohol, drugs, nicotine, food, sugar, it's people, it's relationships, sex, groups. You know, you want to be part of the group, power, co-addiction, violence, it's feelings, always going to the same place no matter what happens. Anger, rage, envy, jealousy. People's lives are sometimes completely driven by jealousy and envy. And it doesn't even matter what it is or what it's about, it's just the place they go. And even thought addictions. So there's spiritual addiction, religion, perfectionism, obsessional thinking, repetition. How many times do you think the same thing over and over again? Go to the same place, have the same experience, and then activity addictions. So now, of course, we're talking about, you know, social media, but video games, gambling, shopping, hobbies, work, binge watching television, even extreme sports. All of these things are struggles to fill that place that can only be filled by our spiritual connection and maturity. So the National Institute on Drug Abuse says it's a chronic relapsing brain disease. And the brain changes can be long lasting and lead to harmful behaviors. They often require repeated treatments and a level of continuous care in order to be successful. And the reason I'm showing you these definitions is because I'm going to, oh, let's see, there's a comment. Oh, sorry, thank you. I just want to make sure I'm answering any questions, but yes, thank you, Bill. It's because I want to juxtapose these definitions with the solutions that I'm going to offer as we go through this presentation. Science has taught us that stress cues are linked to drug experiences. You know, in 12-step programs, they talk about people, places, things, and moods. And exposure to drugs are the most common triggers for relapse. I find this amazing, but medications are being developed to interfere with these triggers. They're actually looking for a drug that will stop addiction, if you can believe that, because pharma knows no bounds. Like, if they can find something to to charge you for, to get you hooked on, even a drug that will keep you from being hooked on drugs. I mean, it's just amazing to me. Right now, there are currently medications for treating withdrawal, staying in treatment, and preventing relapse. Drugs, and more drugs. So I'm sure you know this, the DSM, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. When I was young and thought I knew everything, we used to make jokes about what our illness would be in the DSM. You know, we would just like, I have this and it's in the DSM-5 or whatever, but it's a very, very highly respected manual. And it's where people go when they are diagnosing their patients. But what I want to point out is there's only one behavioral disorder, and that's compulsive gambling. And the internet addiction disorder, which is huge, is in the appendix of conditions deserving further study. They still haven't even acknowledged it, and it is taken over. Other disordered behaviors that need further study are sex, eating, shopping, video gaming. So, this is just an indication of how far behind the diagnostic manual is when it comes to what we're dealing with on a daily basis. And so it's really important for us as a community. We're not waiting for someone to bring it to us. And I believe that, again, to refer back to Brother Abner, that the path that he's going on is a complete, um, they're just taking their own path. They're not looking for someone else to bring them the information. They know what's going on in the community. And so they use symptoms as a basis for the DSM. So, how are you going to find um, spiritual voids by symptoms, right? That's not what they're looking for. They want to say, um, stop him from gambling, not what's wrong with his heart. So when they use symptoms as a basis for DSM, it's hopelessly outdated. And as a matter of fact, the British Psychological Society is called for the abandonment of the DSM because they realize that the biological reductionism is a phrase that says just what you see, not what you feel, not what's in your heart. So they're calling for biological reductionism instead of focusing on and to better focus on psychological and social aspects from bereavement to unemployment. So we have some hands raised and comments. Bill?
Yes, I was hoping maybe you could explain, or maybe you don't have an explanation. Why did categorize gambling as the only behavioral issue? It just seems so strange to me. Seems strange to you as well?
It does. And but I can tell you that you know, it, having lived in Las Vegas, like there are signs everywhere about gambling and, what to call 800 or whatever. And it's a huge, huge destruction of life, along with certainly other things as well. But I just wonder, as it is being pushed out and now it's everywhere and everything and commercials and everything else, if that's just something that's been, elevated to a higher visibility. But honestly, I don't know. Mama Doris?
This morning on the Today Show, there was a story, and it was talking about how young boys and men are affected by everything that's on social media, and that's putting that uh, push towards the imagery, machoism, how they behave, the MAGA thing, how they treat women, how they view themselves, versus when it used to be Leave It to Beaver and that kind of thing, and what is it now? So I find that very interesting when we talk about the behavior, and they say because there's so much time being spent on social media, and that is what's feeding into who they are, what they do, and everything. So, in molding white men in that image and that behavior.
And so we have all of this data and research and things that we see, and yet the DSM is still behind the times. We know what's happening. We know what's happening. We can see it. And I've had my like Netflix. Can you imagine the word binging? I've had my binges of, a show where I've watched, 10 episodes all at once. And when I think about the word binge, just such a destructive term, but we do it all the time and we talk about it now like it's normal. Binging is not normal.
I see Sebastian has his hand up.
Oh, I can't see it. Yes, Sebastian.
But we must admit that we're in a capitalistic society, and things are by design. You know, um, medically, you treat a problem. You don't, they rarely ever try to find out what caused the problem to keep it from ever, happening again. They want a repeat customer. They want you to binge. They want you to have addictive qualities, because that's what keeps the capitalistic system going. You know, um, Cars used to last forever. No, no, no. We got to have you. We want you buying a car every 7 years now. We don't want good products anymore. That's the system that we live in.
My niece has just got a new phone, and I was like, "Oh gosh, already?" She's like, "I had it for 2 years." It was like, okay, so absolutely, absolutely, it is certainly by design, but we have to separate ourselves from this. Okay, and then this is the person who was over the DSM-4, and he said the saddest moment in his career was to see the deeply flawed DSM-5, clearly unsafe, scientifically unsound, and likely to lead to massive over-diagnosis and harmful over-medication. So Big Pharma's running it. We know that. Big Pharma's running it. So now I just want you to take a moment. You can put it in the chat and just when you hear and ask yourself for 3 words for how it feels to have your life affected by addiction. And this is any words you want. We're not going to, come back and look at them or anything like that, but just in your heart, how it feels to have your life affected by addiction. It could be people you know, it could be yourself, it could be anything at all. Just 3 words. So thank you for sharing that information. It, it's important, I guess, is when you look at these words, you see these commonalities. It's important for us to acknowledge and understand this disease, this illness. So now a little bit about the history of addiction. And as I go into the history of addiction, I want to say um, I was just reading something, I can't remember the name of the book, but it's important to acknowledge as we talk about addiction that it is no more prevalent in our community than it is in any other, and perhaps even less. So I am not saying or doing this because we are the ones who are generally speaking using all the drugs and everything, because that's not true by any means or stretch of the imagination. And the statistics and numbers bear it out. I don't have to say it because it's in my heart, but the truth of the matter is even in just tests where they just sort of ask people questions, even for African Americans, oftentimes they will go to seeing an African American person on drugs. That's just programming. It's not true or any reality by any stretch of the imagination. The fact that we are prevalently in jail because of that is this is nothing but a social construct. It's not real by any means, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't be responsible and take control of the effects that have been just poured onto us as well as the greater community. I want to make sure that's clear. So in the 1930s, addicts were thought to be morally flawed, and they were sent to priests for moral counseling, and sometimes they were put in insane asylums. So we have come a long way from what it was originally. It was a moral failing rather than a health problem. And the emphasis was rather punitive, that is to say, you know, horrible consequences rather than preventative or therapeutic actions. So in the 1930s is when they came up with Alcoholics Anonymous and other 12-step programs that came out of it. And it gained the status of a disease. And even though they are now seen essentially as sick people getting well, that's really not how people feel deep in their hearts. People really do have a stigma when they talk about or have any problem with any kind of addiction. And I don't know, I used to know the number of, 12-step programs that there were, but you pretty much, you can just name it's sex, of course, it's gambling, it's shopping, there's certainly overeaters, there's one for just anything that you think of. These 12-step programs are just all pervasive. And I think that's really important because they're not drug based, right? They're not drug based. So the allopathic model is the traditional medical model. So that's what I will talk about here. And heroin users are now on a lifetime prescription of methadone. Um, as I said before, the National Institute of Health is funding inoculation research to vaccinate us against addiction.
Oh,
Um, Modern society encourages conformity and consumerism. These are things that, of course, who's going to be creative when they're so busy trying to be in line with everyone? Where is that, the spirit going to come in and talk to you and give you that creativity that belongs to you and you alone? Because there is a thing inside you that is unique and wonderful, belongs only to you, and was given to you for a reason. So the influence of our disease-based medical system is pervasive, and it's very important for us to be able to step away from that. So the yoga of recovery and other methods and pathways talk about spiritual versus religious approach. Mama Doris?
Sister, yes, Sister Saraswati, one of the things I just put in the chat, big money in rehab programs. And now how much medical coverage covers that, and how I know people who have taken second mortgages against their home to try to save their family member going through rehab. So it goes back to capitalism and money, whether it's a pill, whether you're taking methadone forever, or whether the cheap programs are 20K nowadays. They give you one try that they help, and then the next one it's on you, you know.
And in a
You
lot
know,
True.
of that, Sister Asada had a statement there. Would you mind talking about that too, Sister Asada?
I can't see the chat. Thank you so much for helping me, Brother Abner.
Yeah, what I had said was back in the day when I was coming up in Connecticut, we could truly get paid if we had somebody committed to what they called a sane asylum.
Paid?
Yeah, they were kind of like a reward almost,
Mm.
Hmm.
so it was just a way to kind of round up, somebody might have been a little stable or might have had an addiction that needed help, but not, because back in the day, the quote insane asylums really were just another fancy word for drugs. I mean, jail. They didn't really do treatment or rehabilitation. But,
That's the ultimate
if
bait
you,
and switch.
yeah. And that was before I moved out to California. So I don't know, 40, 50 years ago. I mean, to me, that's recent for such a egregious act.
That is recent. And I didn't know about how they got into those insane asylums, but I can see, wow, getting paid for it. But even more, to Sister Doris's point, um, within our community, those kinds of resources are not necessarily available. So if you know somebody who has a house that they could put a lien on, that's one thing, but plenty of people don't have homes. They don't have those kinds of resources, because so when we talk about, even those places are not necessarily successful, and they will run you through those rehab places 4 or 5 times. They don't have a problem with taking your money over and over again. And I think some of them know that, this person's going to be back, and they're just collecting a check, and making sure they go to bed at night and get up in the morning. There's no healing going on. There's very little respect and development spiritually, but you still have to have money to do that. And so those kinds of resources are really few and far between within our community, which is another reason for us to take responsibility and control for all of the things that are being forced upon us within this community, and to start to realize and acknowledge, like programs like Brother Abner. Again, I hate to keep referring to you, but I was so excited about people finally starting to treat people like people. So I like this line here. It says, disease can be a spiritual opportunity. So I don't, you get to know yourself, you get to, face the problems, the whatever was in those roots in the trees, you get to pull those out and walk through what they are and how they're being expressed. Um, but it requires discipline and devotional practices. I'm not saying that what we have is a panacea. There is much work to be done. There is a lot of awareness and understanding and honesty and truth where you maybe have never really faced it before. I'm not talking about just, doing some meditation and, seeing God and then everything is fine. So we need to think about how we judge them, and an alternative reality that they could have, and acknowledge that what we're talking about is not a success rate. These are people. So we just need to understand and accept that there is a different way to approach it and work with people. And that's what the yoga of recovery and these other pathways offer. I did this presentation to some licensed clinical social workers, and about this time, they said, oh, you know what? I really did not have compassion for the people that I was working with. I really need to kind of rethink how I talk to people and how I treat them. And for me, that was worth the price of admission. It's very important.
I also think it's the cultural thing, like you said, because I've known someone who was Latino, sent her daughter, and the daughter was like, I can't stay there the whole time. They're not like me, and then, yeah, I talked to someone else who, yes, who had the money, could go there and they fit in. And so there's things, how we are raised and how our images and how we can, see things, and how what we experience, the trauma with that is different too. So in finding the cure, it goes back to your statement, that was made, also what's the cause, and some of the causes, and if those are the people who triggered, then
Right.
you're going to your it's like your wife beater, you're going to that person to heal you from, kind of thing.
Exactly. Brother
Oh,
Sebastian.
yeah,
No,
yes.
no.
Um,
Sebastian has a comment.
both of those, Sister Saraswati, what you said and what Mother Doris was saying in terms of both of those lead right back into what Brother Youssef, his class, and it seems like those were some of the things that drove him to take this different path that he was on, if I'm correct, Brother Abner.
That is true. And and commenting on this is why this is so powerful for me. And Sister Saraswati, when you said it's not about the success rate and it's about the human being there, that is so different in our field is such a change because that success rate is how they determine what um, uh, types of interventions and strategies are going to be used. But that success rate is tied to what we've already talked about, which is getting people in and out, and they're just saying that they're doing this and that. So the success rate is not really success with the person. It's just how quickly they're getting people in and out of these systems and getting them back. It's about this money. And so it's just coming full circle, everything you're saying. Very powerful statement there. Um, I also would like to call attention to Brother Damani's text, if he'd like to say it, or I could read it as well, Brother Damani. Brother Damani says, been clean 20. Oh, there you go. Go ahead.
Oh no, you can go ahead and read it. I'm just getting home from work, just getting. I'll be with y'all in about another 10 minutes.
Thank you. And just going back to what Sister Saraswati said earlier too, about recognizing and honoring those of us who have made it through, who've gotten to the other side and who are now models for the rest of us. Brother Damani says, been clean 26 years, went to 4 recovery programs. He used the state disability insurance, but we just want to give recognition to Brother Damani for making it and then sharing that with us.
Ashe, ashe, ashe. So in summary, even though addiction is generally accepted as a disease, it's not one that can be treated with just regular medicine, with these traditional medical methods, with emphasis on surgery and medication. Because we're talking about other kinds of, diseases as well. So the whole, cutting the colon to help them lose weight, all of those kinds of things. So psychotherapy has been popular, but it's treating the mind with the mind. And that has limitations. That has limitations because we are spirit beings. We're spirit beings. So in recent years, we've seen an increase in psychiatric drugs that aim to treat the mind by changing the brain chemistry. And they work well for some and not for others, but then you're still on drugs, right? And trials have shown that placebos sometimes have the same effect that the medications have. So, it's just really important for us to just honor and acknowledge what it is that's going on in our community. So the yogic approach is a deeper understanding of the different levels of the brain. And so we're talking about the brain, the mind, and consciousness. And it's understood that it's not easy to affect a change at the level of consciousness by merely changing our thoughts on the analytical level or altering the brain chemistry. So I like this because this is what people generally think of when they talk about addiction. They feel very comfortable acknowledging that nicotine and pharmaceuticals, even cannabis or alcohol, is a drug, and that's part of the disease. But they don't necessarily want to talk about sugar or food or people or relationships or dating or shopping or caffeine. They don't want to talk about these. And these are daily behaviors. These aren't like going on a binge, partying and having a fifth of something or whatever. This is every single day. And so, as we develop our spiritual muscles, we can take on these kinds of things with honesty and truth. So this Gabor Mate is a person who I think he's a Canadian. He's written a lot of books, but in the realm of Hungry Ghosts is the one that this quote comes from. He's a number of books. And so what we advocate in this program that I'm a part of is the one addiction process. And so that incorporates everything. That's whatever your addiction is. So you can add social media to it, whatever it is, but there's one addiction process, one place in your heart where you just have this vacancy that you're going to try to fill with something. And so this one addiction process gets you through overeaters, shopaholics, gamblers, sexaholics, internet, any, and even I like this too because I'm sure this is me, the socially acceptable and even admired behaviors of the workaholic. Again, not good. But it's part of this one addiction process. You know, many people, when they stop working, they lose their identity, they die. They just, that's all they ever were, was whatever it is they did at the office. And when people retire, people are like, make sure you have something to do because their whole life has just been work, 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 work. Again, it's part of that one addiction process, that fundamental understanding of us as spirit beings. So easy as it would be, another important statement, this is from Gabor Mate, to pin responsibility for their self-destructive habits on a chemical phenomenon, few of them do so. Few of them accept a narrow medical model of addiction as an illness for all of the genuine value of that model. So many addicts know it's just not one thing. They know that there's a deeper place that is not going to be fulfilled by having those methadone treatments or whatever it is that they give you on a daily basis to try to get you from one day to the next. Many of them still feel that vacancy because it still exists. And so they struggle with a narrow medical model of addiction as an illness, even in their active addiction. So now yoga therapy. Solutions. A system of internal balance and development of a higher awareness. We're talking about yoga. When I talk about yoga, I'm talking about the physical exercises, also known as the asanas. It puts your mind into a receptive state that primes it for insights, integrations, inspiration, and intuition. Yogic teachings are pathways to self-expression, fostering curiosity and creative expression. And this last adage is the statement of the person who brought me into yoga back in 77. His name was Vishnu Devananda. And his health is wealth, peace of mind is happiness, yoga shows the way. And so what we generally think of as yoga is the physical postures, but that is modern yoga. I actually call it boutique yoga, you know, where you just put on your cute outfit and you go to the yoga place and everybody's the same size, and then we all do pretzel poses and then we leave and we're done. Like a lot of times they don't even do meditation before they do yoga or after. They just do the poses and leave. But traditional yoga is so much more than just the physical asanas. And plenty of people practice yoga and don't do any physical asanas at all. So it is a science that is based on human beings in their entirety, body, mind, and spirit. And that is when I did my health educator training before I did the recovery, that was the emphasis in that health education coursework, was to make sure that people know that it's much more than just the physical exercises, but that they care about the body, all aspects of the body and the mind as well. So courses on stress and positive thinking that had nothing to do with the physical aspect of exercises altogether were important components of the program. And so this last statement, I guess, is what I've said, is there are a multiplicity of ways to define what constitutes a yogic practice. So I have 30 minutes. So there are 4 paths of yoga. And I struggle with describing this without, like getting all convoluted and stuff like that and losing you. But I would just say that there is a path of discipline, and that's the exercises, that's the meditation. There's a path of action where you serve, and that's karma yoga. People often think like when something happens, like that was karmic, you got that back. But it is the physical exercises of serving and helping people. And people can spend their whole lives just in service, and they will be performing karma yoga. When you see people singing and chanting and, sort of almost in trances and everything else, that is a yoga of devotion. They just want to love God, and then their fellow man by extension. So that is the yoga of devotion. The path of devotion is bhakti yoga. And then the final one is the path of knowledge, and that is just reading holy scriptures as if a person took the Bible and just meditated on it and just had it be part and parcel of who they are. And that's all they did. And so every time something happened, a Bible scripture would just pop into their head and they would do the right thing. So without any physical exercises, there are jnana yogis, there are bhakti yogis, there are karma yogis, and then there are raja yogis. Our program combines all four because you just want to hit people wherever they are. Some people are going to do really well with the devotion. Some people really need the word. They need to study. Damani springs to mind when I talk about that. The man just reads book after book after book. But anyway, so what we try to offer is a combination of all four paths of yoga. So it's movement practices and breathing techniques. It's the regulation of attention and setting attention. And so that's the meditation to decrease stress. But it's also the musculoskeletal and cardiovascular system. Because, of course, the body and the mind are intimately connected. As we talk about during meditation, when you breathe fast, you're in a state of high anxiety. You're either exercising or you're under stress or tension, and you can regulate your breathing and change your mindset. So movement and practices and breathing techniques are very powerful, and they will give you like a quick, solution in a situation where you're struggling. And so do not just discount the power that is available from just some quiet and very slow, powerful breathing. Deep breathing is available to you. But the other part of that, of course, is meditation. And, the mind runs around. I often refer to it as the drunken monkey. So not only is it a monkey mind, it's a drunken monkey mind. It's just like falling off the chair and running around and doing all kind of stuff. And it's like that all the time. So when you come to meditation, you're just going to watch the monkey mind run around. It's not going to happen right away. But over time, you will let the monkey mind run and you can stay in place. There's a growth and process that comes with yogic practices. And so so together these techniques regulate the autonomic, neuroendocrine, emotional, and behavioral activation. It promotes physical, mental, and social well-being for self-regulation and resilience. It's when you come to a truth, as you start to settle and see things around you, as you come to a truth, you need to have a way to live, to hold. So our spiritual principles that we have in the Husia, that we repeat during every service, these things are places for us to go in our meditation to bind them in our hearts. But it's a scripture I say, thy word have I hid in my heart so that I might not sin against thee. But the thee is the God that resides within us as well. And so as you continue to study, as you go to Black Knowledge Matters, as you really truly commit to the Nguzo Saba, as you truly commit to the principles of justice and righteousness, as you truly commit to them, your life changes. You meditate on them. And sometimes things happen and you can't believe you did that because it wouldn't have happened normally. But it's because you were meditating and focusing on things. It is not something that you can do on Sunday. Minister Imhotep used to always say during meditation, like, you should be practicing this during the week. He said it every time. You should be practicing this during the week. But it's not just that. It's all of the words that Mama Doris is. So now we have like brochures that we have that actually have those principles. Because it's like we need them in our minds every day. And that is the power that will come from it. We can train ourselves.
Well, like you said, the four: discipline, action, devotion, knowledge. We will raise our children according to the needs of our nation with discipline, patience, devotion, and courage. We will strive to be the new models of the new direction for our people. We are, that's what we say. It's about doing. It's the action, it's the devotion, and the knowledge of who we are. The knowledge of who we are. And it's like, yeah, it's right there, right? That's what we're talking about.
But you can't keep it there if you don't put it in over and over and over again.
Yeah,
Like why does
Sebastian, but yeah, what we
McDonald's
believe
shows
and what
one
we practice
commercial?
in there in the chat also. It's like what we believe that it's there. I've been listening to Emotep's, saying it to the music over and over. It's like you hear it, you feel it, you do it. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And if you think that saying it once a week will do it for you, I don't even know what to say. Because there's so much other stuff coming in all the time. You have to make sure that you are responsible for the good stuff. Sebastian, is your finger up?
Yes, it is. And it's something to listen to you guys because um, we're speaking about addictions, and I've come to here recently sort of think that all addictions aren't bad because um, I'm trying to establish a routine which I hope to become addicted to, and that's listening to those 7 songs, one of which I put into the chat that my dear friend and minister Imhotep created, and to listen is something that's so therapeutic when I'm walking to listen to everything that's being said because he's speaking from the holy books, you know. It helps me. It's helped me through this transition. So in that note, I says that I do hope to become addicted to that.
I will I will challenge spiritual practice from addiction. I don't know that something bad will happen if you continue to spend all of your time in scripture and study and work. Unless you're a workaholic, you're not going to lose your home or your family or your money. You know, you're not going to you're not going to harm your body. I love the concept, but addiction is a real disease. And I'm not trying to make light
No,
of
no, no, no.
your
I understand what you're saying. I guess instead of
right.
doing it once a week, I want to do it daily, but I won't become 24 hours addicted to it, right?
I'm with you. I'm with you, but I just have so much compassion for people who are really struggling. And
Yeah.
I
I don't
understand
want
that.
to, I never want to, make light of the
I
path
understand that. Yes.
that they are undergoing. And I need to respect that, that they need our love and compassion and understanding. Brother Abner, were you going to say something?
I was just to comment on that, when we go back to that um, definition, the self-destructive outlets for unrecognized spiritual craving. What I hear Brother Sebastian saying is he is really going to be committing himself to the devotion so that there is not that spiritual craving that leads to that addiction and it leads to those behaviors that are ultimately self-destructive, and that what he's going to be bringing in by filling his life with that is that type of fulfillment that prevents that. And the way in which those four different areas as well of yoga practice also helped me to understand how I can incorporate that throughout my life, and that there's not just one, like I'm not going to be meditating in a room all day and that service piece, that I take that yoga with me every day and serve. So this is very helpful as well, and how through that spiritual piece I can incorporate it every day in my life.
Absolutely,
Thank you, brother.
absolutely. Yeah. It's not just about yeah, meditating. It's a lifestyle, just like incorporating the principles in our life. It's a lifestyle, and it's a lifestyle that requires practice, because we already know that somebody else is craving for our attention. Minister Alicia, she did something on attention. I don't remember it anymore, but I remember it was attention, and we have to take responsibility again for the time and energy that we give away. We give it away. So, yoga therapy again. So, the postures and breathing activate while simultaneously, give you meditation and connection, calm and tranquility. Um, so, we're not creating a protocol for the traditional medical condition. We're targeting the unique needs of the individual. When we look at those different pathways, as we bring them together and we find what really needs or meets another person's need, then we have, within them, a person who sort of tends towards meditation or who's going to tend towards study. It gives you the opportunity for each individual to come to their understanding of who God is within their life in their own way. It doesn't force people to fit into. Everybody stand up and say it together. So another thing is yoga therapy improves your relationship with suffering. So you build tools to return and to strengthen, restore calm states, because you know life is going to be hard. It's never going to be like everything's beautiful. It's always going to be wonderful. And so yoga therapy acknowledges that when you have this neural exercise for regulation and resilience of your system. So you're more flexible because you realize that whatever is happening, you understand that it is just part of the scenery that goes by. Um, and it changes your relationship or with tolerance. There's a description of yoga where our existence is the screen. You're at a movie theater, and then all this other stuff that's happening is like playing on the movie screen. But we're still the screen. The screen still stays the same. We are still unique and, wonderful beings of God. And but all this stuff is just going to be playing. It's just one movie after another after another. But the screen will never change. And so your relationship to suffering, as you become more settled, more peaceful, more calm in these restorative states, will help you let these things go by, and you will be able to handle the changes that will come with it. This increased flexibility, increasing safe mobilization, and that is to say, as life goes by and everything, and then safe immobilization as you meditate and find that space within you where nothing changes, right? Yoga of recovery. So it's not a one size fits all prescription, because that's what I just talked about. Like each person will come to it and find a path that will be helpful to them. And it's not an opinion on drug policy, even though, of course, I have said that drugs are everywhere and they're just trying to find a way, big pharma, to, get you to take something. I'm not looking for anybody on this call to stop taking anything. Be very clear about that, right? It's not a detox or a rehab. As a matter of fact, we don't encourage people to try to come to us until they've done that initial detox. That's a very difficult period of time for people. We're not advocating that we can take a person through that kind of experience. And Hatha yoga training is, again, more than a life plan, it's more than a lesson plan, it's a life plan. And it's also not a 12-step meeting, right? It's an invitation to a conversation again about the one addiction process, an investigation of a solution for each of us. And it's a process of creative self-inquiry. So again, to go back to this one addiction process, to just reinforce the fact that, within us, each of us will always have a need for the Most High in our lives. We will feel that intimately and desperately, and sometimes we will act on it without knowing what it is that is touching us. I honestly, I will, something will happen, and I will say, this deserves ice cream. Just, I'm gonna just be honest, right? Like, this is an ice cream day, I just have to have it or whatever. But it also has happened that I've said, so that's where you want to go. Like, so that's where you want to go. That as you start to, come to terms with the fact that life will always have these things. There will always be a movie playing, so over time and this one addiction process. So remember, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, if the Most High is not filling that space, you are going to look for something, and so it's just really important to acknowledge and accept that within our lives is who we are, that there are places where we will only find fulfillment if we are studying the word is in us, and we are living the word. And so without that, we will try to fill it with something else. And it's just the simple, plain truth, because something is going to fill that space. It's not going to be empty. And so coming to acknowledge and understand that, to accept that, and then try to address it, to try to make sure that, when you're in the morning, or if you're during the day, or before you take off in your car, or just before you interact with your unfavorite sister, or before you have that discussion with your child who was playing hooky, and you need to, whatever it is, whenever that happens, before any of that happens, we need to make sure that we are firmly anchored. During book study on Sunday, there was a phrase in the book of Mott that talked about trees. And I was able to see immediately Minister Imhotep as a tree. Not because he's tall, but because there were so many fruits that came from him. So, just like if you look that way, he's making movies. If you look that way, he's doing SOS. If you look that way, he's doing meditation. If you look that way, so there's this tree with all this just coming out of him, just all this stuff. But do you know that this root structure of that tree is the same size, essentially? So he was firmly rooted. Wind, tornadoes, anything blowing, he was firmly rooted. His root structure was massive, just as massive as his tree structure. And so this is really essentially the same thing. We have to be firmly rooted. We have to be able to know things by heart, because we don't have the time to run and go look them up in a book. We have to carry them with us all the time. And likewise, also, I will also say exercise as well. I absolutely believe that the body and mind are intimately connected. And so while I'm talking about this one addictive process in yoga of recovery, I also want to make sure that I'm talking about us, being flexible, in increasing our blood circulation in the body, us being aware of the kinds of foods that we eat, and to to be honest about that too, right? That's the same kind of honesty and truth that we need, because it's very easy to pretend like the body's not part of the solution, right? Like I'm gonna be prayed up, right? And then go have what? There's a story that my mentor told about going somewhere and seeing for the first time like a moon pie. And she, we're about the same age. She's like, I didn't even know they made them. And so she just felt obligated to let's have one because goodness gracious, it's been 50 years, right? So she gets the moon pie and it's like at a 7-Eleven or something where she drove by. And so she would go this route every once in a while. And every time she saw it, she would think like, oh, that was so wonderful. And so the next thing you know, it was 7 o'clock in the morning and she was at 7-Eleven buying moon pies. So, it's very easy for things to just come in. And the only way we can, be aware is honestly to just be committed. I'm going to keep going. I'll stop in 5 more minutes. I'm doing really good. So, yoga recovery is a complete reframing of the addiction problem and solution, according to the yogic perspective, Vedic. It allows us to see our current involvement in the one addiction process that is alive and well within most of us. We are all subject to it. We discover that right there in the identification of the problem lies its natural solution without any need for stigma or shame. And that's very important. No stigma, no shame. Self-destructive behavior is already enough of a heavy burden to overcome. So it is just where we are, who we are, and what we need to do. So within the yoga of recovery, there are 6 tenets, and I'm only going to talk about life is longing, and that's about where I thought I would finish. But each tenet points to something within us which is important and to us. So, like life is sweet. That is something that talks about the baby's first taste and what that means to you throughout your life. That sweetness that comes from your interaction with your mother, with her holding you and feeding you. And that is a need that you have within you that in some way, shape, or form really shapes how you're going to go through the rest of your life. We're going to talk about life as longing, but life is energy as well. So there is a place in our lives where we feel a need to act, to move, to do things. And all of these different tenets, life is love, life is progress, life is relationship, all of these tenets are pathways to healing, a place where we might feel a deep need. And so I chose life as longing because I feel like that was very easy for us to relate to and understand in the next 4 minutes. So each tenet points to a yogic pathway and perspective and practices that best allow us to express this inherent energy in a more conscious way with more internal awareness, rather than externalized distractions and fixes. So these are the 4 paths of yoga that I talked about earlier. And so Bhakti Yoga and Jnana Yoga, the last 2, are where life is longing is related to. So again, these are the 4 paths of yoga, because remember, this is a yogic presentation, right? But the tenets of yoga are directly related to the paths of yoga without trying to make this too complicated. So that they are still tied into the 4 basic pathways of yoga, those 6 tenets. So we look at the roots of our addictive behavior. If you remember that picture in the very beginning that showed all of those roots, and we treat the roots and not the symptoms. So, it's not easy necessarily for you to come to terms with really what in your roots is really affecting you. And that sometimes takes time. But once you once you understand it, then you have once you've identified it, then it's important for you to really walk through what that really is, and that's creating a narrative. And then once you've actually like created this narrative and you understand what it is that happened there, because sometimes we only know the experience. You need to be able to step back and just walk through what was really happening. That's the narrative. And then as healers, we allow the story to be told and listened, and then we can reweave that story. We can say, my mother was abused, and that is the reason that she abused. We can reweave the story instead of all I had was, right? We can take the time to look at the roots of the problem, create a narrative, like explain what it is, how it affected you, what it meant to you. And then you can reweave that story with some understanding. It doesn't have to, like, it doesn't have to be because your mother was this or that, but whatever it is, you can find a way to reweave it to give yourself healing, because this is really about your understanding of how you're handling that trauma, whatever it was. So again, life is longing is seeking unity. And that's all I'm going to focus on for this one. Relationship is connection and belonging, but unity is what life is longing. We're viewing the body, mind, and spirit. So the problem that we are, I'm sorry, I shouldn't try to read. View the problem and the solution from the perspective of the mind, the body, and the spirit, all three. Similar definitions of disease. In yoga, they call it spiritual ignorance. And I like that because if you realized you were at a movie theater and that the screen was there and everything was just playing across it, that would be the knowledge. So the spiritual ignorance is to think that all the stuff that's happening is the reality, but it's not the reality. So that's what spiritual ignorance is, and it's called avidya. And Ayurveda, which is the medical counterpart of yoga, it's forgetting our true nature is spirit, which is the same thing. Forgetting our true nature is spirit. And then for the 12-step programs, they call disease a spiritual malady. So they're all connected in a way to the same thing, and that is loss of spirit. Now, I am going to stop at this point. I think I did pretty
Saraswati,
good.
could you go back to that to the slide where you were talking about the mind, the body? I think it was like two before this one.
Yes. This one,
Yes,
mind,
that one
body,
right
and
there.
spirit.
Yeah, that was it. Okay, good deal. Thank you.
So I will leave it here. So when we talked about, for me, again, it's so important in my community for people to have as many different pathways to knowledge and understanding as is possible. And I am very excited for us to start to understand how we're living and take responsibility for what's happening, to encourage us to study more, to memorize, and to use that information for our daily walk, and not, I was never like a bench Christian, but I certainly was a Sunday hat and nice dress Christian. So I have to acknowledge that, that there was, I had really questioned some of my motives as I was going. And so I just really want us to understand as a community, as we look at all of our own personal addictions in this one addiction process, that we understand that they are a cry for spiritual growth and development, and that we are in the place right now in Wosei for that to be filled and addressed. That it requires discipline and devotion to do it, but there is power available to us in that pathway. So I will end with that. Thank you.
No shame, Mama.
Thank you so much, Sister Saraswati. Very powerful. And I just can't thank you enough for opening this ancient pathway again for us, bringing to the community. I would ask now, turn it over to the family. Questions for Sister Saraswati? Yes, Brother Terrence.
Oh, I
Sister,
mean, yeah.
Sister Saraswati, that was amazing. Um, a lot of similarities in the work I do as a sound therapist and in yoga. I work with a yogi all the time and the work we do. My question is, for me, I got into this sound healing or sound therapy. Um, Truly was a personal thing that I needed to work on myself before I was enlightened to think I can share that with others. And can I ask you what really led you to going into yoga?
So in 73, that is really what happened. So friends go away to college and they come back and they're yogis. They are, like hands behind the back and over without letting their like head foot over the head and everything. And I'm graduating in a year, but they went 1 year away from college and they come back and they're like these new people. And so that was 73. By 76 or 75, there was a course at LA Community College, LACC, on yoga. And I took that course and I stayed with them through 77 when I finally became a TTC, took the teacher training course. So that's when I got my first certification. Now, I was young at the time, 22, and I struggled with finding a place to teach in the community. I could teach in Beverly Hills, I could teach in West LA, and everywhere I went, I was, the only Black in the room, and I really, really struggled with that. And when I tried to work in the community, it was very difficult. Like, you need to charge a lot of money, or you need to tell them my motto when they're asleep and in like it just crazy stuff. And the next thing I was back in church and just partying and just living a normal life. But I always did it for myself. I always did it for myself. Not as much as I should, but I was doing headstands at 50 and 55, that kind of thing. And then finally, I knew that when I finally had my own time, that I was going to go back where I knew it was the right thing to do. When I first started, my mom had just gotten high blood pressure, and I was sure I could save her. She's like, get those Hare Krishna people away from me. So that didn't work. Anyway, so lots of stuff.
All right, thank you.
Mama Zarita?
Yes, Mama Saraswati, an absolutely beautiful um, teaching experience and a learning experience. Just excellent. You know your stuff. So I really appreciate that. And so what really touched me is that in dealing with addiction, there comes a lot of noise and disruption. And then when you're into the word and into the teachings, there's a calmness that comes. That brings a knowing. And when, for example, I can say, like, I love sweet green tea. Oh my goodness. And so I'm saying to myself, oh, now is the time. And then I said, no, don't do that. And it was just very calm. It wasn't like, I didn't fuss at myself. It's just spiritually, when you spoke about the restoration, the recovery. And so that's what I wanted to share, that calmness that comes with really knowing the word and making it a part of your life. And it just does when I'm faced with some, whatever it is, whatever challenge, um, the calmness. Ashe, thank you so much.
Ashe, Ashe.
Any further questions, family?
Not a question, Brother Abner, but I would like to apologize to this group for my misspokenness of addiction. I thank you, Brother Abner, for further explaining, what I was meaning. But I wanted to apologize if I offended anybody in any way. But thank you.
It was a beautiful statement. Brother Damani. Sorry.
You're on mute.
Okay, we can't hear you. I know you're talking.
Yeah, I heard you mention Gabriel Mate. Yeah, I heard you mention Gabriel Mate. What book were you referring to? In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts?
Yes, in the realm of hungry ghosts.
Yeah, my sister turned me on to Gabriel. I got a couple of his books too. And you also mentioned, can you explain neuroendocrine? I saw in one of the lines of one of the slides you mentioned neuroendocrine system.
So your brain and even your glandular system are all affected from the yogic exercises. As a matter of fact, last night I was doing the headstand and I was remembering that it's massaging my endocrine glands in my neck. So your body is available to you and affected by the meditation that you do, the calming down that happens in meditation is also oxygenation of your body. And that increased oxygen, it helps all of your glands, your muscles, your body, to function better. Your lungs are expanded, so you have a greater capacity for breathing as well. And so neuroendocrine is mind. All of your body systems are, there was probably more besides that, like physical or whatever, but all of your body systems are affected and really blessed from the exercises that you do, meditation as well as the yogic postures as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Youssef, you're still on mute. You're on mute.
You're on mute.
Sorry, thank you all. Any other questions, comments? Well, I would again just like to thank Sister Saraswati. This has been eye-opening. You truly have nourished us today. I would love to hear more and maybe a second trip coming in and talking about those tenants or talking about the 4 areas would be wonderful. And in a selfish way, looking at maybe a class down the road for people in the community. But thank you so much for this. And Mama Conke, did you have something?
Yeah, I thought of something really quick. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. This is for Sister Saraswati. I was wondering because I'm at Ileomo Day every day, especially in the morning with the children. I open the school up every day, and so I get to witness how the children are in the morning, how they come, what they bring, and just the other day, myself and Mama Bonisile were talking, and one of the things that we talked about was the need for our children to have meditation because, ooh, ooh, cut my phone off. Because our children are dealing with so many different things, and because our communities have been so separated, um, and because we know that like you talked about the addictions that we do have children who are addicted to um, the phones and things like that. But we have a lot of very young children who are really angry or I shouldn't say so much as angry, but find it hard to control their or to understand even their emotions. And they're coming out in a very forceful way, defiant way. Um, and because I've been with Iliomode from its inception, I have noticed a great change in our children and how, in their emotional state. And Mama Jasiri, in her preschool class, she has a statement, I'll never forget it. I have her on tape saying it too. Is that every morning she starts with meditation with her preschoolers because she knows that they come from different places. Some have stayed up late, some have, not eaten in the morning, some have maybe gotten into trouble, some have been, just all kind of different things. And so she wanted to bring them in one space, and give them one thing in that space, through meditation. So I it just came to me, it's like maybe you would, you know, be willing even to talk with Baba Jahi, Mama Bonisile, maybe about the benefits of possibly having, you know, a morning, always have morning meditation. That's a way, possibly looking at, because we're talking about a lot of behavioral things that may be in the morning grounding meditation or something is, um, a good thing that could be incorporated within Iliomo Day.
I think that's a wonderful idea. And I will just say that my initial goal when I took the teacher training before I did health education and everything else was to work with children. But my mentor said that my gift was for adults. So I don't know what that means, but
Yeah.
but I have seen other actually in San Francisco there's a place where they do physical yogic exercises for children, and
Hmm.
again none of the kids were of color. Just anytime I see that, that's the first thing I think, like, not what? So I absolutely think that that's a really good idea and very important. So I will connect with you later or just send a note to Baba Jahi. I'll talk to you first before I send him a note and make
Okay.
sure we're clear on it. But
Okay.
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Thank you.
So, Minister Alicia, you want to do the transitional prayer uh, uh, from Black Knowledge Matters to WOW?
I can do that. I hope there's not going to be a lot of noise in my background, though. That's why it's like I'm downstairs. I got kids going in and out, but I'll go ahead and do that.
Well,
We
you know
gotta
what?
ask our men to go away.
But we're gonna let her, yeah, but we're gonna let her pray first and then they'll
Okay.
go away. All right. And but you know what, Minister Alicia, uh, hearing the children, that just means that we have a community that's alive and is growing. So it's nothing
Yes.
wrong with that. Okay.
Yes, yes.
If you don't hear, like we had heard children on Sunday, if you don't hear any children, then it's a dead church, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're hearing the children, that means that we're coming alive, we're coming back. Okay.
I say,
All right.
Mama.
All right.
That's
Okay.
it. All right. Thank you, Most High, for this day. We come in such humble gratitude, just giving thanks and praises for who you are, giving thanks and praises for who you created us to be, and being able to learn these beautiful ways that we might be able to look and see within us that we should only be filling our hurt spaces and our empty spaces with your word and your love and who you are and who you created us to be. We thank you, Most High, for the remedies that you have given to us. We thank you for Mama Saraswati to come and present this to the community. We ask that every little piece be rooted it within to our hearts and our minds and our souls so that we might be able to go and share with others. We thank you for this time and this space amongst your people. We are in such deep gratitude for your constant healing and your constant love that you are showering upon us all. And as we transition from whole community into the realm of the women, we just give thanks. We just give such thanks. This is our prayer. Amen and Ashe.
Amen and Ashe.
And
Ashe.
I want to give a special thanks to Brother Youssef for stepping in,
Yes.
Katie, working the chat, keeping it going. And we look forward to more sessions with him. And next week, Brother Damani is bringing the Black Knowledge Matters. And actually next Thursday, a week from Thursday, I will do a SOS. So next week, that's what will be happening there. So men, we thank you for being present. We thank you for your energy. And now we have just the sisters, the women of Wose. Peace and blessings to all.
Peace.
So, okay. So Mama Doris, are you gonna pass? Are you in control? That's fine. We want to stop the recording.
Yeah, I'm not in control. Bill was. Bill, or nobody was. Bill, can you take recording off for us?
He's gone.
I see him there. I'll send him okay. Send him a text. Okay.
In the meantime, hello everyone.
Hello.
Greetings.
Blessings.
Hello.
Oh, hey, Mama Rose.
Hello, Miss Connie. How you doing?
Hey there. Hey there. I'm doing good.
You look pretty cool tonight.
Oh yeah. I got the fan on. It's warm.
I didn't mean that kind of cool.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll take it every minute. I accept it. Thank you.
I meant you look pretty fresh today. You look good.
Thank
Sit
you.
that way.
All right.
I sent Bill a text. But the recording is still on, so he must have stepped away. Let me actually call him rather than to.
You want me to, you go on, I can call him. I'll call him.
Okay.
Sister Doris. Okay, I'll call him.
Okay.
Okay.
Doris, thank you guys for getting Black Knowledge back on the right track.
Yes, so next week will be Damani, and he's doing 200, what is it? 200 years of Egypt mania, the archaeological and industrial complex.
Wonderful.
That's be October 15th. Then October 22nd, we will be having one that will be on Black music, done by the maestro Mondre Moffat. So there'll be jazz and music, and the music, how it's affected us as people. And then that following week, we'll have the 29th, it will be Terrence, Brother Dr. Terrence will do on the healing of music, kind of play off that. And then we've got something set up also for the Brother Shay on the first one in November. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm trying to get a total of 8 done in place. So
We'll be sending flyers out.
yes, yeah. So okay.
I put the flyer for next week in the chat, and it'll be distributed.
And also an email. That always remind you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Oh, okay. Bill is now the host. Bill, can you take the recording off?
Yes, that's why
Thank you.
I
Thank
set
you.
the host on.
Okay. Thank you.